Hey everyone, real short one right now. Dmitry Kortenkov was asking about using the IR loader inside the GT-1000CORE. Like, why was I using Moore radar, cab simulator, power amp and mic simulator, or IR loader instead of the things that are built into the GT-1000CORE? Primarily I was doing that because it was difficult to separate the cabs from the amp models in the GT-1000. The way they've done the architecture makes that difficult. That might be why the amps are responsive. They say it's all kind of modeled as one, so you can hear the interaction between the amp and the cab and everything, or I should say you can feel the interaction between the amp and the cab. Is more realistic. But that also makes it more difficult to just a la carte, like swap different cabs and amps. However, you can do it. First thing you need to do is go into the menu and go to the in and out settings, output select, and then make sure it's on recording. That's the only mode in which it will allow you to change the cabinet from the one that matches the head or combo, whatever. So what we've got going on here is one preset where I'm using, I'll show you, there is some pre-filtering, clean boost, and then an EQ. Now in this case, I'm going to show you two presets. I haven't matched the settings exactly by the numbers, but I've tried to match them by sound. One of them uses an amp model in the GT-1000CORE. The other preset uses the effects loop on the GT-1000CORE, and it's running this EVH 5150 Overdrive by MXR. And I've EQ'd both pre and post amp, or pre and post loop, to kind of match the sounds, because they're not identical. There's no 5150 model in here. I'm using the maximum, which according to the manual from Boss is like a high gain modded Marshall. It's like a plexi type tone, but modded and high gain. So let me show you here. So the cab I've got selected, as you can see, is original. Well, let's go to the next preset, and I'll play these for you in a minute. This one is the one using the 5150 Overdrive. And if I go to Effect, and I'll explain how I had to route it to get this to work, I've got the cabinet set to original as well, and I have it on maximum. But you'll notice there's a divider. I'm using a divider. So the signal comes in and hits this distortion, which is the clean boost, just like on the other preset. The divider splits it into two, and I have both active. I have it on dual mode. One is the amp here. There's a couple of blocks after it, but they're bypassed. There's the amp, and on the other branch is loop 1, which contains the overdrive pedal. However, at the exit here, the mixer, I have B level, or the level of the built-in amp model, set to 0. And then you can see I've positioned the speaker cab simulation block after it. Now the weird thing is, if I go over here and set this to single, in other words, so it's going through the effects loop containing this, and then into the speaker simulator. Let me play this for you. Now let me turn it back to dual. Now you're not hearing the amp from inside here because I've got the level set to 0 for the return block. But something about this unit, if you bypass this amp, whether you turn it on or off, or whether you bypass its the signal path that it's on, it turns off the speaker simulator. Let me show you. Even though you're not hearing it, you can see it's turning off the speaker simulator. And that's very strange. And I'll show you. You can even adjust it. I'll adjust the gain, no change. I'll adjust the resonance, no change, right? Because that signal's not going through. However, this unit will switch off the speaker simulation block. So you can use the speaker simulator in here or the IR loader. I'm just using the built-in cabinets, but you could load your custom IR. but you, in doing so, are going to lose one of the dividers. There's 3 dividers in this unit that you can use in any patch, up to 3 dividers. So you lose one doing this trick, fooling it into allowing you to use something that's in the effects loop through the speaker simulation. I really think Boss needs to update that in their next firmware update, but who knows if they'll do one. Boss, I love Boss, I love their products, but they're not famous for doing a lot of updates other than to fix bugs. However, adding the feature to individually use the cabinet simulation or the IR slots with external amps or external pedals would be a huge improvement. Obviously the unit can do it, so I'm not asking for any additional processing power. Indeed, I'm asking for less processing power because you're not going to use the amp block in there. I think they just need to change that. Side note to Boss, I'm sure they're not watching this, but also you can make custom assignments for these 5 knobs, but they're only global, which is really, frankly, it's a huge oversight in my opinion, because each preset might have different effects, different amps, and you might want to have different parameters readily accessible depending on the preset. Yet you can only set these knobs to a custom setting for the entire unit. So that's kind of crappy in my opinion. I think global settings should be an option, but I think per patch should also be an option. I would use that more often. Anyway, let's check out how close these 2 sounds are. So again, I'm using the same cabinet simulation on both and that same clean boost in front of the amp or in front of this pedal. There's a little bit different EQ going on to kind of match them, but other than that, they're the same. See, check it out. So that's just that. So I think they're pretty close. So close, in fact, that on the pedal board that I'm configuring currently, it's not in the shot right now, but it's right off to the side, I actually am not using the 5150 Overdrive at this point because I've been able to match the sound so close. And then if we go here, play the lick. I mean, it's pretty similar actually because there's been a lot of EQing. I had to add a bit. I'll show you real quick what it is. Let's see here. This is the one with the internal amp. It's got an extra parametric equalizer before the amp, boosting the high gain 3 decibels, cutting the low gain by 3 decibels, and that's the only other modifications going before it. And if you look at the preset that uses the 5150, there's no EQ before it. So I actually had to revoice the sound going into it. So, and then a little bit of EQ afterwards. I won't bore you with that. Just again, I'll play a couple of these. Here's the internal amp. And here's the 5150 Overdrive. Pretty close, pretty close.